What's going on, everybody? It's your boy King Gabe here once again with another history video. This time the history of Calvin Wayans, aka the Phantom X. So, before we get into this, let's definitely let you guys know. Definitely like, share, subscribe. Definitely like, share, subscribe. Definitely get get some of our books, including Yumeko, which is out. Only $7 each, much like the other books. $3 shipping and handling, and also definitely super thanks or special thanks. And be sure to support us on that Patreon, just like your boy AJ the Supreme. So yep, do all that, and now and also, definitely check out EJ's channel, of course. Especially wrestle fans, because he's talking about that WWE. And also, definitely check out my big sis Casey's channel as well. Playlists are on the channel as well as also information in the description box if you want to get to it via link. So, either way, you'll definitely be seeing it. But for right now, on with the show. Last time it was the history of Flora and Shanice. Now we're talking with Calvin, aka Phantom X. Now, of course, Calvin, actually, aka Phantom X, this character actually goes back before Heroes of Dreams to the Star Striker and Target series. Pretty much Star Striker and Target series. Yeah, so the thing with his creation wasn't really much in that. It was pretty much in the Star Trek and Target series. It was, pretty much Star Trek and Target, pretty much based off Static and Gear, of course, doing their thing. Protecting Shreveport. Then, of course, Casey brought her character. Julie Yukoshi, aka Sword Girl, into the mix, joined up with the boys and everything. Then eventually we would say, well, why don't we go from this to making them sort of similar to Teen Titans? There, like a team of superheroes. Of course, you got a team like Avengers and Justice League, but we were watching Teen Titans at the time, and that was on our mind. So, if we're going to do a Teen Titans style, then we at least need 5 heroes to start off with. Much like how Teen Titans have 5 of their own. Because of that, so we had 3 already, Star, Target, and Sword Girl. So, first there was Angela, who Samuel was currently dating at the time and knew his secret identity and stuff. She ended up becoming Bubble Girl. Then it was like, okay, we just need a 5th member. So rather than coming up with another backstory for the 5th hero, we just sort of threw one in there, which was, of course, Calvin, aka Phantom X. The way he just sort of came in as he was dating Julie. After their first date night, she kissed him, and then he got superpowers, which wasn't psychic abilities like Julie, but the ability to control shadows, similar to Ebon from Static Shock. And then he teams up with the rest with Star, Target, Bubble Girl, and Sword Girl. The 5 of them stop a curse at an Egyptian museum, because stuff comes sort of like night at the museum. And then decide to become the Dream League. And they make their base in Matt Murdock's mansion, which is for some reason located in Shreveport instead of New York now. Pretty much Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, was pretty much now their Professor Xavier. So there was that. So it wasn't really much with Phantom X backstory creation there, just throwing them in so we could have 5 people to make the Dream League. Kind of not the most creative entrance there. And then, of course, later in the Dream League series, there was a moment where they got these like power ups. Venom X's power up was I think Extreme X mode. so let's move on with pretty much and moving on with Heroes of Dreams. Of course, like I mentioned with Florence Shanice, there was the dark, unpublished Heroes of Dreams. Venom X, aka Calvin, did make an appearance there. Not sure what I came up with as far as how he came to be in that series, but there was an ideal that I had that he would still be a thing between him and Sword Girl, aka Julie. That would still have, a little, as Michelangelo say, are you two like a thing or something? Much like in the Star Striker Target series leading into Dream League. However, there was going to be a moment for some reason where they would break up, and then Venom X would end up dating this other girl that would be known as Moonrazer. Moonrazer was, of course, a girl who was able to become pretty much like a werewolf there. This actually was because that version of Venom X was based off of somebody that I worked with at Kroger. He doesn't work there anymore, and I can't remember his name. Even if I did, obviously I wouldn't say it here. But honestly, I don't really remember his name. But when me and him were talking about, my story ideas and stuff like that, around that time that I was trying to test out and see what would stick, one of the ideas he came up with was, okay, if I'm Venom X in this thing, I don't know about the whole thing of me and Sword Girl. I prefer a werewolf girl. So there was that. That was how. So that sort of birthed the creation of a Venom X Moonrazer kind of thing. I guess you could say it was gonna. I guess you could say somewhat of a slight reference to the Twilight movies from Stephanie Myers. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that went a little too dark. Maybe too. And it's like, okay, we didn't want to go that dark now. Hi, my name is Edward. I'm sorry I avoided you, but something I like to stare at you. Yeah, yeah, that was probably a lot of minutes and hours. Me and Christina are not going to get back from watching those movies out of curiosity just to see what they were like. Ooh. So of course, yeah, that didn't really go too far. So then came the published Heroes of Dream, where it officially was going to go. Now of course, much like Star Striker Target and the Dream League series, in Heroes of Dream, yes, Calvin, aka Venom X, went immediately to, of course, being a thing with Julie. But of course, because things were a little different in Heroes of Dream, where we had the whole thing with how Samuel became Star Striker at the battle suit and everything, how Brian became Target, Sword Girl's origin and her past, as well as even Bubblina and what was going and becoming deciding to become a superhero, much like the others. So what was going to be Calvin's thing with this? Well, book 5 of Heroes of Dream started off where, of course, in ancient Egypt. Well, not ancient Egypt, but it was in Egypt. Just to give you a glimpse of what the time was, Heroes of Dream actually started in 2011. As far as time, as far as the year of it starting, it was 2011. So Samuel, Brian, Julie, Melody, aka Bubblina, of course, and Calvin were all 8 years old. So when Calvin was pretty much like 2 years old, about 6 years ago. Um, he was living in Egypt with his mother. They were apparently this was because even further back than that, when his mother was 13, had just turned 13, her and her friends, there was a birthday party for her, and this is where they met up with with a magician known as Ammon. Yes, I think I want to say. Wait, I'm trying to think. Was she 13? Let's see. I'm thinking 8 years prior. Hang on, just a second. Let me. Yeah, I gotta check this out before I go. Okay, I'm back. So yeah. Apparently she was 13. She was 13. This was her 13th birthday, and the magician Ammon was 17 at the time, about to be 18 on his. When probably like the next year or so. So yeah. Turns out, of course, like a lot of girls you see, like a lot of girls, both in fiction and sometimes even in the real world. Yeah, she like, ooh, he's dreamy. Yeah, the whole thing of wanting an older guy. Even my wife Christina was thinking that way. When her and me first met each other before we started dating, of course, that she was going to be with an older guy. Of course, at least the better thing, at least in her defense, was at least both of us were adults, and so obviously it would be adult and adult. Yeah, this case, yeah. So I guess yeah, much like how book 3 with the Sword Girl story had a dark side to it. Yeah, it was a little bit here. Now, another thing to consider when I was writing this, like, wow, you got 13-year-old and 17-year-old. Yeah, what is up with that? Well, here's a thing that I actually looked up as I was writing this. Thing was, Ammon, of course, is from Egypt, and according to countries like Egypt and stuff like that, or a lot of places that you would hear about in the Bible days and stuff. Even at the time I was writing this, this actually was a thing that you would have age differences, that you would, well, not just age, but also you would have people as young as 13 or 14 getting married there. Yeah, a little different from over here in today's time. So yeah, this actually was legit. So yeah. So of course, obviously Yolanda's dad is like no way am I letting you date this guy. Yeah, of course. Now she wasn't really thinking toward the whole marriage thing, obviously. But yeah, daddies aren't gonna let their 13-year-old girl date somebody with that big of an age difference that's like right at 17, about to be 18 the next year. That is just not happening. But of course, she was upset about this, and she ended up finding a way to get in contact with him. And next thing you know, she ended up running off with Ammon all the way to his homeland, Egypt, of course, where they did get married despite her being 13 there, and spent the whole year together. And when she became 14, that's when she had Calvin. But of course, at the time that her and Ammon, that she gave birth to Calvin, they called him Cadimus, Cadimus. The name Cadimus that was actually sort of reference to Calamon in Digimon Tamers. Calamon's actual name in Tamers, well, actually his actual title was known as the Catalyst that allowed Digimon to digivolve. So yeah, he was, but he was made in the form of a Digimon known as Calamon. So sort of thought about that a little bit and thought, hey, I come up with a cool name like Catamus there. So apparently, when Catamus became, let's see, about 2 years old, her and Yolanda, they were out sort of having a little night stroll by the Nile River and everything, and suddenly they came across a magic door appear, sort of like the door you saw in the virtual world of Yu-Gi-Oh, but except it's magic and not digital. They went inside the door, which when it revealed a secret pyramid, and inside there was Ammon and two of his brothers, Iman and Oman, having a private meeting. And let's just say there was a scroll that they had in this private meeting, and it depicted a way of being able to enslave the world. Yes, so long story short, their plan was to pretty much change reality and everything to where, what if Moses did not exist? Yeah, what if Moses had never came to be and said, let my people go, and the people were still and Israel was still enslaved. So they pretty much wanted to pretty much make it like that. And they would, and of course Ammon, the ringleader of this plan, he himself would be the Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh that would pretty much rule over the entire world. However, they spotted Yolanda and Calvin listening in on them, and the thing was, it wasn't just enough that they wanted to enslave the world, but according to the scroll, they were wanting to pretty much infuse themselves with power from one of the lowercase g gods known as Penubian. That might possibly play into Yumeko, you never know. But yeah, one of the lowercase g gods, Penubian, which actually was based off of some actual lowercase g gods mentioned back in the book of, well, not just the book of, but it actually was mentioned that these were some gods that the Egyptians did have statues of, and as far as they were concerned, existed to them. Pithom and Ramesses. Yeah, remember the name Ramesses that was given to the Pharaoh from Prince of Egypt, as well as also the Ten Commandments, and him and Moses were supposed to be like brothers, and Moses had to face off against him when he said, "Let my people go." Especially Ten Commandments, Ramesses there. Yeah, so yeah, there was Pithom and Ramses. So in the book, the god that they're talking about is called Penubian, and with Penubian's power, they would be able to enslave the world. It's pretty much enslave the entire world. However, there was one little catch to obtaining this power, and that was the sacrifice of a firstborn Egyptian magician there. So yeah, almost kind of sound like that whole firstborn thing. So that means that Ammon was going to sacrifice Catamus in order to obtain his power. But of course, Yolanda and Catamus ended up being saved by a mysterious man who turned out later to be a guardian angel known as Hero, who they would end up meeting up with again later. Catamus got older. His name was changed to Calvin, and he ended up he became a kid magician, performing at the state fair and everything. And that's how Julie met up with him. They went to see him perform, Julie and Melody, and he called Julie as to be a volunteer, sort of like magicians in real life say, "I need a volunteer from the audience." They sort of had some sparks fly between them a little bit. But then they were attacked by what was known as let me look in here again. Let's look in here. what they were called. Let's see, the soldier. They were Egyptian soldiers with human bodies, arms, and hands, but having the head, claws, legs, and feet, and wings of an eagle. Oh boy, they were the army of Penubian. Yeah, Penubian soldiers there. So Penubia's army was attacking the state fair, looking for Catamus, which at this point was being called Calvin, and as a magician, taking on the persona of Venom X. So with the attack, Star, Target, Sword Girl, and Bubblina tried to do what they could to stop the attack, which allowed Venom X and Yolanda to escape. And that's of course where Yolanda explained, what was going on and where those guys possibly came from and what had happened, to her in the past of why they were here in Shreveport. Pretty much what I just told you guys. So eventually, what happened? Shows you. I actually knew more about the other histories that I told right off. Looks like my memory kind of slipped on this one here. Okay, so let's see. Let's go in. So of course, be careful. Oh yeah. So apparently, at some eventually in the story, we see Julie. Julie had been taken in by the Kurt. Kurt Wayans. I think. Yep. Been taken in by Kurt Wayne, and we find out that he actually is the father of Yolanda. This was actually Yolanda's father. That she had run away from. Julie, of course, was not aware of that at the time, but her and the others find out later about this after Kurt Wayne is kidnapped by the Penubian soldiers. They get so the word gets to Yolanda and Calvin, and he becomes, of course, Venom X. Yolanda is not actually. Yolanda's a little nervous about letting him go out like that. Obviously being protective, and so let's see. Oh yeah, but Samuel's dad ensures that everything's going to be okay in order to get her father back. And of course, we get the team up: Star Striker, Target, Sword Girl, Venom X, and Bubblina. All team up pretty much Avenger style to go up against, say, Ammon, Emon, Omon, and the Penubian army. Say, the heroic team of true power. Yeah. So, and they call themselves the Dream League. The heroes you can only dream of. The only heroes you can only dream about. Ammon actually states, people like you that have stood in the way of my ancestors, high and mighty rulers and magicians. They were all chosen by the gods that once served us greatly in the past of Egypt, until an unnamed god sent Moses and his brother Aaron to ruin everything. According to the ancient scrolls, they nearly destroyed Egypt and sent their firstborn to the other side, drowning the entire armies. They refer the death of the firstborn and the Red Sea part and all that. After our ancestors witnessed this, they went around looking for ways to take revenge, but during their travels they saw your heroic kind do numerous acts with great powers, such as Joshua destroying Jericho, Samson taking out thousands of Philistine soldiers, and even a child like David defeating the great giant Goliath. Our ancestors couldn't find anything but they returned to Egypt, vowing to the gods that they would one day bring back the slavery era again. But years later, the gods, the lowercase g ones, were locked away in Egypt. The pharaoh of that time said that he had heard of a man named Jesus Christ, the son of Jehovah, the name of the unnamed God. Ever since then, Egypt has feared your kind and your God, and now we want to end that. So yeah, pretty much the not say pretty much the group of the magicians that led to, of course, their the Ammon, Oman, and Iman. Yeah, pretty much a revenge story. So yep. So then, of course, there was the big battle. And eventually they ended up having to face the big Benubian. So yeah, they end up facing big Benubian. Of course, they do win, but it's not an easy fight there. There's even moments where it seems like they're not going to make it. There's even a moment where I think Venom X had shielded, I think it was a little girl, with his cape, and ended up getting blasted, and there was like only a piece of his cape left. And the reason I'm mentioning this because it was sort of resemblant of a scene in Justice League Unlimited where Green Arrow had got blasted by this big robot and nothing but his hat was left. Then it was revealed that he was okay. So yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, let's see. See, where is it at? I'm trying to see where he got blasted here. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's see. I think it might. Well, I can't really find it there. It was. Okay, so oh yeah, so okay, that's what. So this little girl had stood up to Benubian. They stood up to him, but of course he didn't like that, and he fired a sun ray blast at the little girl, and a cape covered her just before the ray hit. And when the smoke cleared, that's when you saw the Dream League, like, as the little girl say, it's time for you to move away. So yeah, kind of like how Green Arrow appeared after his hat was blasted by a giant robot. Say dirtbag. So there was that. Yeah, man. They all defeated Benubian. And it was even at the end of the book. They even went to church that next Sunday and accepted Christ into their life, and even had a prodigal son moment of Yolanda coming in, being reunited with her father, as well as also Calvin, which of course her father, of course obviously is his grandfather. So yeah, it was a big family reunion there. Pretty much like I just say, like a reference to the prodigal son. And also they were introduced to Yero, who became the guardian angel of the Dream League. So yeah, so there was that. That was how that was pretty much the Miracles of Salvation was the title of book 5 that introduced Venom X. So with that, yeah, they entered the Dream League, and want to say the only other moment that was mentioned of Calvin in this version was in book 11, where he mentioned where him and Julie were having a moment on the bus, just talking to each other, and he was feeling a little depressed about say that the fact that there was someone that his mom was dating that he didn't know who it was. But he was a little worried because of what had happened with his biological dad, Ammon, and was worried what this new boyfriend could be like, Yeah, so that was that, and it didn't really get much else into that there. I think book 12, Calvin found out who it was and was, kind of relieved. Kind of got the situation got solved really quickly. And then that was pretty much it, because after book 12, then of course I started writing the comics and nothing else was done for Heroes of Dream. So, yeah, so it ended there. So that was pretty much it of Calvin and Venom X there. Not really much was mentioned coming into the Star Trek comics, because I had not gotten that far. Far as I had gotten was, of course, Star Trekkers debuted and having the new character Diva Slay. as well as of course Angela and Brian, but Brian never became Target yet, even though it was like 6 books, and obviously we didn't even get to Phantom X. Then of course there was thoughts when there was the ideal of making either bringing Hiko Makuro into the Star Trek series or making us a whole nother series. At that time, this was before I even came up with the idea of Brown Chronicles or Yumeko. It was the whole thing of, well, maybe Hiko himself would be the new Phantom X there. But then again, and there was a lot of different ideals and stuff trying to generate of which one was going to be the official thing. Then of course Brown Chronicles came along, first 2 books of that, and well, we did get an appearance from Phantom X, but it wasn't Hiko or Calvin. It was a kid named Zayden Walker, which I do plan to bring into the Yumeko novel. Zayden is in not only Brown Chronicles but also the Yumeko comic series. But yeah, he briefly donned the guise of Phantom X in the Brown Chronicles, but not for very long, and didn't really get to do much as such. But it was intended that there would be focus on him later, but never really did get there past the 2 books. Then of course the Yumeko series, where of course we would see Zayden again, but of course no Phantom X. It was kind of hint. I'm not sure if Hiko would have became Phantom X in the Yumeko comic series or not. Probably, or either if there was going to be a Phantom X, because thing is, Phantom X in Star Trek and Target leading the Dream League, his powers were of course like Ebon with shadow powers, but when Heroes of Dream came along, I wanted to kind of make him more, make his character more than what it was before, and that was the idea of making him a magician. However, and he sort of had a little bit of appearance like Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh in the Heroes of Dream series, but the only thing was, as of now, yeah, things are kind of a little different with the Yumeko novel. So how Calvin, aka Phantom X, will be portrayed in this Yumeko series, that has yet to be but I have a little bit of an idea, but not going to spoil it for you there, like I say. So with the history I've given you, there could, like I say, anything from that history could possibly go into play. However, there obviously will be some major differences in adapting the character to this new universe and everything. Especially with what this new universe Yumeko novel series is presenting already from the straight out of the get-go. Even if it was going to be the comic series, it would definitely still be different, or even Brown Chronicle, which that was already kind of made clear, because you had Zayden dressing up like Phantom X there. But yeah, Calvin, aka Phantom X, is more than likely going to be the play for the Yumeko series. We'll still get Zayden, as I mentioned, but like I say, how they're going to, what all they're going to be in Yumeko is going to be left to when we get to their appearances in the series. So when they come up in the series, we will know then. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's about the shortest history video I have, because like I say, the most of this particular character was in Heroes of Dreams, and that pretty much was it. Whereas a lot of the other characters did have some other versions of them and other things outside of just that one. So yeah, so we're definitely gonna have more with this character coming up in the Yumeko novel series. I definitely plan to. as well as other ideas. So, like what you heard and everything, definitely give us a like, share, subscribe. Hit us up on that Patreon like your boy AJ the Supreme. Check out his channel as well as also Casey's channel. All information in the description box. We all even have access to the channels from the playlist, as well as also super thanks or special thanks, whichever one you choose. And don't forget to buy those books, including Yumeko 1, because especially Yumeko 1, because you definitely want to keep up with where this series is going to be going, to see how how things are going to come into play with the characters mentioned in their respective history videos that's been stated so far, and even ones that haven't had some history videos, because maybe not much information of them from before writing Yumeko, but they have been getting mentions, and so like say Julius or Tim or Melina. So yeah, you definitely got especially characters like that to see how things are gonna play in Yumeko novel series. But until then, we will see y'all in the next video. Take care, everybody.